Okay, I'm Jared Moore with Mvskoke Media, and I am here tonight to restream the National Council's live stream of their emergency session. If you guys follow our YouTube channel, earlier today we posted a YouTube video kind of outlining this emergency session that the agenda was just posted today for, where the council is going to vote on an NCA 21-084. I wanted to start. The meeting is going to start at 6:30. I just wanted to start the stream a little bit early to go through some stuff with you guys that maybe you don't know about how to find these agendas and things, and also do a rundown of the NCA and kind of what it means. So I'm going to take me off of the screen, and then what you're seeing is what you could see on your computer. So if you go to the National Council's website, it's MCNNC. So MCNNC.com. You can go down and see there's a link for the agendas and click the 2021 agendas. When you go there, you can scroll down and find today's emergency session agenda. Okay? That agenda will come up, and the reason you want to do it this way is because, well, normally you can click through the agendas, the legislation number on the agenda, to see a copy of the legislation that is going to be put before the council. So let's click on through on 21-084. Then you can see the whole legislation. Basically what this legislation is going to do, and we cover it a little bit more in detail in the video that we posted earlier today, is it's going to repeal Title 16, Chapter 4 of the MCN Code. Title 16, Chapter 4 of the Code is, and I'm going to take a real quick detour to show you guys where you can find that specific thing. So if you go to the Creek Nation Supreme Court's website, creeksupremecourt.com, right? At the top of the page, there's a link to Code. You click that, right? And then you can go down and find Title 16, right? So we'll go down, Title 16 is down here, Executive Branch, right? Once that loads, we will look at Title 16, Chapter 4. So here's Title 16, Executive Branch. This is what in MCN Code establishes the structure of the executive branch. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can maybe see a little better. Let's go down to Chapter 4. There's one, here we go, 4. Go up a little bit. So Chapter 4 is Law Enforcement Department, and you can see here that all of the sections listed under their creation of light horse administration, etc., etc., etc. So the first thing that this legislation 21-084 is going to do is it's going to repeal all of this. Then it's going to put in a new Title 50, which is going to be entitled Light Horse Police Commission. And our video that we posted earlier today kind of goes through the legislation that the council's about to vote on at this meeting, and it kind of like explains that the commission will be made up of 5 appointees. The principal chief gets to appoint 2, being confirmed, those 2 being confirmed also by the council, and then the council gets to appoint 3 that they confirm themselves. Those 5 will have oversight over the Light Horse Police Chief and the Light Horse Police Department. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's in this legislation, this 17-page legislation. But so I encourage you to take a look at it. There's a link to it in the description of this video. Earlier in the day, we published a video detailing some of the stuff we saw that was interesting in the legislation. We also reached out to the principal chief's office to see if he was involved in this legislation, what he thought of it, etc. And we did get after we published the video, we did get a statement from Principal Chief. I believe that statement is also in the description of this video, but I'm going to read it for you guys real quick before the meeting gets started. And this is from the Principal Chief's office. Over the past several weeks, the executive branch has had multiple conversations and meetings with the Light Horse Police and other individuals regarding the creation of a Light Horse Commission. The executive branch learned of the legislation proposed for the emergency meeting on July 6th, the same as everyone else, when it was made public. Any questions regarding the legality or the constitutionality of this legislation or any structural changes that it would result in would be more appropriately asked to the sponsor of the bill or the Attorney General's office. We have no further comment at this time. Okay, so that being said, there is another item on the agenda. Whoops, let me go back. There is another item on the agenda here. You can see it says Special Prosecutor Engagement, Special Impeachment Committee Selection. Now, I don't know for sure, but I believe this is related to Representative Scott's situation with his censure. And after the meeting is over, I'm going to go through the code for the Mvskoke Creek Nation and talk about the process of conducting an impeachment at the Creek Nation and what these two specific steps, where we are in that process. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Also, I'll show you in the code where that's delineated. If you guys have any questions during this process, please post them into the chat. I will answer them when I get a chance. I'm not going to talk over the audio of the National Council's meeting. But after it's over, if they go into an executive session, then I'll start talking about those things. So council meetings. If you are on the National Council's page, we don't know for sure if they're going to live stream this meeting or not, but if you're on their page, and if you don't want to watch the stream, you just want to watch the National Council's stream, you can go to the top of their thing. They have a link that is live meetings. You see it up there, got it highlighted. I'm going to click through there. And this is where the meeting should appear. Let's see if it's going. So it's not, it looks like they don't have their meeting up yet. I'm going to keep refreshing this. When the meeting starts, I'm just going to full screen it and then let it play. And then, like I said, after the meeting is over, I will come back in and pop myself back up on the screen and kind of walk you through the impeachment process as it's delineated in the tribal code and what we can expect to see in the coming months. And then we'll go from there. So as soon as the meeting starts, I will start playing it. So thanks for tuning in tonight. Appreciate everybody. I know it's late in the evening, but that's how these meetings go. Here we go.
Good evening and welcome. At this time, I call to order Mvskoke Creek National Council Emergency Session, July 6, 2021. Time is 6:30 p.m. At this time, I'd like to ask Representative Patrick Freeman Jr. to do the invocation, please. Thank you, Representative Freeman. Roll call, National Council Legislative Research Specialist, Alicia Strobel.
Speaker Randall Hicks.
Present.
Mary Crawford.
Present.
Joyce Deere.
Present.
Patrick Freeman Jr. Joseph Hicks.
Here.
Robert Huft. James Jennings.
Here.
Adam Jones III.
Here.
William Lowe.
Here.
Anna Marshall.
Present.
Charles McHenry.
Here.
Thomasine Yahola Osborne.
Present.
Darrell Proctor.
Here.
Mark Randolph.
Present.
Christian Tiger III.
Present.
Speaker, you have 15 present, 0 absent.
15 present, 0 absent, constitutes quorum. All business conducted will be official. Order of business, NCA 21084, a law of the Mvskoke Creek Nation repealing MCNCA Title 16, Chapter 4, and creating new law in a new Title 50 entitled Light Horse Police Commission, and authorizing an appropriation for the Light Horse Police Commission. Sponsors Adam Jones III, co-sponsors Patrick Freeman Jr.
Motion to pass for discussion. Motion to adopt.
Motion made by Representative Adam Jones III to adopt NCA 21084. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Freeman. Discussion.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we were visiting with, when we went to the commission last February, a past representative, Jeff Fife, was there and he was at the commission going over this. And we were looking at how we need a commission that's independent, with a 5-board, and to repeal Title 16. But there's some things in Title 16 I visited with AG about that we need to put into this to make it strong. So if anybody has any comments as well, the floor is open. Thank you, Speaker. And ask AG to speak on it as well.
Who's that?
AG.
Mr. Roger Wiley. Mr. Wiley, can you make sure that microphone's on, please?
This piece of legislation, NCA 2184, repeals Title 16, but in doing so, it would throw out some necessary legislation we're going to need from now on in the future. Cross-deputization agreements, Section 4113, Section 4114, reciprocal agreement authority, law enforcement academy agreements, and bank accounts, Bureau of Indian Affairs, on into Section 4201 et cetera. So I asked Mr. Jones if he would consider giving me a little bit of time to go through and include this in his legislation, so that we have to have the authority to enter into cross-deputization agreements with counties, states, local governments. You know, without that, we're going to be hamstrung. So he graciously allowed me to come up here and express those concerns tonight, and I appreciate that. But I would like to be able to spend a little more time on this legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley. Council, you have any questions? Representative Randolph.
I'd like to hear from the light horse.
Captain Phillips. Good evening, Mr. Phillips. Go ahead, Representative Randolph.
Chief Phillips, I was just wondering if you guys had a time to look at this, if it serves your purpose. Is there anything that you would like added or anything you'd like left out, or how you feel about the legislation? Thank you.
We received this, I received it Friday evening. Of course, we closed for business at noon. Seen it Friday evening, and I really didn't have a chance to look over it other than the weekend.
Mr. Phillips.
Read over it some.
Mr. Phillips, can you speak in a microphone,
Oh,
please?
sorry. Did y'all hear any of that? I received it Friday evening after we closed at noon. And then when I looked it over then, I looked over it some. I looked over some over the weekend. But there's a lot of legislation, like I said, coming up with the cross-deputizations that it's going to be detrimental to. I know there's a lot of stuff that needs to be tweaked, a lot in there before this should even be put in place.
Hello, Chief Phillips. Hello, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Randolph. Council, you have any questions for Captain Phillips? Representative Martin.
Representative Jones, where will the source of funding come from?
I have to ask controller on that. Source
Mr. Darnell.
Funds are available for this NCA from the interest on permanent fund, and then per the legislation, it would be a part of the CAB going forward beginning by 22.
Thank you, Mr. Darnell. Representative Jones.
Speaker. Chief, do you want to speak as well? Chief Hill, sorry, Chief.
Oh,
Chief Hill.
Chief Hill.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
Sorry about that. To me, Chief, not enough Indians, I guess.
There's a lot.
No, there's, after looking at this, because we've been working on one, I guess we should have communicated. We was planning on presenting that last Friday, but AG wanted to look it over. It's pretty similar to this. One of the things that is concerning with Roger, we had mentioned to him today, was Title IV. So, you know, we're willing to sit down, discuss it, review it, let's go over it together. Also, like, there's not a clerk, you know, if they're going to do all this work, there's definitely need to be a clerk in there to do a lot of work for the commission. And also, if they need an attorney, there needs to be attorney fees in there for them. As you can see, the AG department is pretty well swamped now.
Right.
So anything that we can do there, there's just some in here that I feel with, if we combine both, we can come up with just one, you know, instead of keep going back and forth. So, you know, if the request to postpone this, maybe a week or two, let's just sit down and just do one complete good one that'll work for both.
Chief, that question is, did Chief Phillips get to look at your legislation as well?
Yes, we sent it to him, to Roger, and like I said, we reached out to Jeff since he was part of the commission team. Took all the recommendation from the commission report, and which Roger, Joe, Jeff, Whitney, we've all looked it over. You know, like I said, Chief Phillips just having to go through it with their busy schedule. They have been going through it though.
Well, you know, kind of, I wish we'd had that communication. I know we didn't communicate with you like you didn't communicate with us. So, I mean, as far as what you had and we have two going at the same time. So I apologize for that.
Again, that's under executive session. I mean, executive office. So once it was presented, we'll get with the sponsor. We can find what I did reach out to Representative Huff, and he said he was willing to sponsor it and was going to review everything in the final form, see what he thought. Anything changes, presented to the BF&J committee, look it over, see what everyone thought.
You do see the changes in this will make this completely independent.
Oh, yes. Take the politics out of it.
Thank you, Chief. I'll make a motion to postpone until next Thursday.
Motion has been made by Representative Jones to postpone until next Thursday. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Lowe. Any discussion? Speaker. Representative Jennings.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd just like to make a comment, Chief. And while we're dealing with the Light Horse Commission right now, I also feel like that we need some oversight at the housing and on the health. We had a health board and a housing board previously, and I feel like that we still need those boards in place. You know, just while we're working on these. Yes, sir.
Representative Jennings, I totally agree, because I did whenever former Chief Five used to be on that housing board. And that's basically what we need is, like I said, them getting swamped, have to make the right decision. Sometimes you need a committee to do that. So just put it in their hands, especially on the housing, the health. You know, it needs to be, we need to have a full committee that knows what they're doing. A qualified committee member.
I agree. The health system has a self-governance board, but you know that's the employees are controlling themselves, and so and the other part of that is council. You know, we don't get involved. You know, with housing or health, we've been told to stay away. So this way, the board can take care of those issues for us. So.
I agree.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Jennings. Okay, Representative Lowe.
Speaker, thank you, Speaker. Just one last thing. I know not to stray too far off the topic, but I'd appreciate if we could possibly have a discussion about a tax commission board. Even, I mean, it may be a wild idea, but if they're an independent agency, it'd be worth a discussion to me. So, just my 2 cents.
Representative Lowe is speaking about a tax commission discussion.
Just maybe possibly developing a board. Just a discussion. That's it. What else, Speaker?
Thank you, Representative Lowe. Any other discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is to postpone until next Thursday. No more discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
William Lowe,
Yes.
Anna Marshall,
Yes.
Charles McHenry,
Yes.
Thomasine Yahola Osborne,
Yes.
Darrell Proctor,
Yes.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Lucian Tiger,
Question before I vote. It would be an emergency session, so we'd have to poll for the emergency session, correct, Speaker?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
Mary Crawford,
Yes.
Joyce Steer,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Joseph Hicks,
Yes.
Robert Huft,
Yes.
James Jennings.
I have a question. So next Thursday, the 8th, the next Thursday, the 8th.
Be the 15th.
Thank you. Yes.
Figure you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion passes. Okay, so that will be, that piece will be emergency session if approved by the council for Thursday, July 15th. The next item on the agenda is special prosecutor engagement.
Motion to go into executive session.
Motion made by Representative Proctor going to executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mary Crawford, Joyce Steer,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Joseph Hicks,
Yes.
Robert Huft,
Yes.
James Jennings,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
William Lowe,
Yes.
Anna Marshall,
Yes.
Charles McHenry,
Yes.
Thomasine Yahola Osborne,
Yes.
Darrell Proctor,
Yes.
Mark Randolph,
No.
Lucian Tiger.
Yes.
Speaker, you have 13 in favor, 1 against.
13 in favor, 1 against. The motion going to executive session passes. Okay, who would we like to stay? Council? I think maybe Attorney Fletcher is online. I believe that would be it.
Okay, it looks like the council's gone into executive session, so I'm going to come back. While we are here, guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about this special prosecutor engagement and the special impeachment committee selection. If you're watching this and you're like, what is that? Let's look it up. So if we go to the Creek Supreme Court's website, which is creeksupremecourt.com, or if you just search Creek Supreme Court, it's the first result. You can see here that I'm going to go a little bit of the long way, but just stick with me because this is important stuff to know. If you go to the Constitution, you will see Article, I believe it's 8. Let's see, here we go. Article 8, removal of officers. And then there's some stuff delineated here, but it doesn't really tell you the nuts and bolts of how an impeachment or removal of an officer would happen, right? Let me flip a switch here real quick, guys. Okay, so let's take a look and see how that actually works out. If we click here, it's kind of small to see, but there's a little thing here that says annotation to Article 7. When we click that, we'll have to let this PDF load up. Basically, where I'm going is to the section in those articles of removal of officers, it says that the National Council will establish the procedures, right? And then if you go here, you can see that a lot of these things that are listed here in the procedures will list Title 31 as their source for validation. In other words, the council passed sections in Title 31 that delineate how this process works. So let's go back and go to the code, just like I showed you before here at the top of the screen, code, and then we're going to go Title 31, which is not titled Tribal Officers. Then from there, we will go to Section 1-105. Let's go there. We just scroll down. 104. Here we go. Oh, not yet. 104, 104, 105. Here we go. I'm going to make this a little bigger so everybody can see it. Is that big enough? You guys to let me know if it's too small. Oh, I can make it even bigger. Let's make it really big. I love it. Okay. This 1-105 of Title 31 is the principles of procedure for how an impeachment process will be conducted. I'm just going to read through here. There are hereby established fundamental principles of procedure for removal of officers of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. And then there's number one is talking about the petition process, which is kind of like if citizens got together and they made a petition to remove an officer and how that will work. That's not what's happening here, though. So let's go on down. The National Council initiates on number 2, the National Council initiates impeachment proceedings by majority vote, authorizing a National Council directive instructing a special prosecutor chosen by the National Council to convene a second impeachment committee consisting of 7 members of the National Council selected at random, whose purpose shall be to examine charges, investigate activities, examine evidence for cause of removal as the directives shall state. So let me just bring that down a little bit and highlight that just in case anybody's wondering where I am. And let me make me a little bit smaller so you guys can see that. I don't need to be that big. Everybody knows how small I am. Okay, so that's where we are in this process. It hasn't been published yet, the National Council directive, what the directive is, but that's obviously been passed because the agenda has special prosecutor engagement on it, okay? So where we're at is, right now the National Council is going to find their special prosecutor. That guy is going to start the investigation into whoever, and it looks like, if you've been following our coverage, it's probably Representative Scott. So, with that in mind, they also have on here special impeachment committee selection. So those 7 members of the National Council selected at random that will sit on the impeachment committee. So we know that that's probably what's happening right now. What happens next, though, you may ask? So then, if evidence warrants it, and I'm right here on the second half. Let me just do that part. Well, there we go. If evidence warrants it, well, there we go. The Special Impeachment Committee shall vote by majority vote and direct the special prosecutor to prepare formal written statements as articles of impeachment, charging the officer with a formal charge, with each charge being a separate and individual article of impeachment. The special prosecutor presents the articles of impeachment to the National Council. If this is Representative Scott that this impeachment is for, then we will know at that point, we should know exactly what he's being accused of, what he's being charged with, the specifics. Step 3 is the National Council convenes as a court of impeachment with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presiding in the case of a trial of a principal chief or a lesser Supreme Court judge if a lesser officer. So basically, just like we saw with President Trump's impeachment, then there will be a court of impeachment held in the council where the special prosecutor will present evidence, and also there will be some defense of Representative Scott from his side in this court. And the whole thing will be overseen by a Creek Nation Supreme Court judge. There's this next part is specific to if the principal chief is the person being impeached. I'm pretty sure that's not the case, but we don't know for sure because we haven't seen that directive, so we don't know who's being impeached for sure, but it looks like it's probably Representative Scott. And then here is the resolution, or where we're going towards the end of this thing, is a conviction on the charges of impeachment requires 3/4 vote of the National Council for removal of the principal chief, second chief, and or any member of the Supreme Court. Removal of a civil officer may be less than 3/4 vote. Now that part I'm a little hazy on. Is a national councilman a lesser civil official? I guess through this process we'll find out. Let's go on to number 6. The only penalty the National Council can impose is removal from office. So they can't throw him in jail or anything like that. Let's look at number 7. A conviction on charges of impeachment is irrevocable. Can't take it back. Number 8, the final thing, the transition of power upon conviction of the principal chief shall pass the second chief, and the presiding Supreme Court justice shall administer the oath of office. So if the chief gets impeached, then second chief takes over. So that's the process that we're seeing initiated here, and we've gone past the directive stage. So what you guys as the audience can expect to see in the future out of this is that trial. We're going to see, if the investigation warrants formal charges, we should see those charges, and I'll be privy to them. And then we will, and the impeachment continues on to the trial in the National Council. To my understanding, I don't think this has ever happened before at the Creek Nation. And just as a wrap up, NCA 21-084 has been postponed till the 15th. And we'll probably try to get a copy of whatever revised legislation will be put out there, and probably restream that emergency session as well so everybody can see it. Thanks for joining us tonight and going with me down this rabbit hole of code. If you're really interested in tribal code or tribal government, the Supreme Court's website is an invaluable resource. You should go there and look at all this code. There's so much stuff and so many amendments. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you guys later, and Mado.